And from that point on, it was a good old-fashioned drag race
Yes,
all the way to the start-finish line. And Clint and myself were in the booth. I was just standing there. Clint and Mike are going. And I turned into a race fan, speechless, not wanting to walk over the top of them. But man, what a finish! That was unbelievable.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yellow, keep on fire. What a race! California's Kevin Harvick does it. What are you making right there?
Hear a bunch of
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. I'm Kevin Harvick, Kaitlyn Vincie, Mamba Smith, and somehow they let us come back for another week. So
yeah,
here we
episode
are.
2.
This
We
is,
made it another week, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for the invite back, Unc. You know,
I mean, I didn't necessarily invite you back, but I'm glad to see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't see your ankles because them shoes are, camouflage.
I knew the shoes would get mentioned right out of the gate.
Here's the deal. You made fun of my shoes, and you and Bory have made fun of my shoes. So I have gone out and I have purchased new shoes.
Wow.
And if it's game on, it's game on. I might be out of my age range, but I'm going to have unique shoes.
You can't see them though, right?
Yeah, I can't see them.
It's the camouflage.
Can't see 'em.
Yeah, they look good. I will.
They look good.
Your style's really
Caught you off
stepped
guard.
up. It did.
Caught you off guard.
Caitlyn told me, she's like, you're gonna like Kevin's shoes.
I did give him a little precursor.
I didn't think that they were gonna be that though.
Well, I'll see if I can't catch you off guard a few more times.
Week 2, and you're already improving Kevin's style.
Well, I'm here to make Kevin look cool, so I guess
That's
I'm doing
right.
my job.
I'm looking after my outfit.
Your fit,
Yeah.
the fire fits. Working on that liquid
I'm not
gold.
sure I'm going to make it to the jacket, but I'm to a nice long sleeve t-shirt.
There you
Okay,
go.
I mean the born and raised jacket. Look it on you. We might be able to wear. It's from Cali. It's a
don't
Cali
know.
brand.
You need to start going back to like the old Jeff Hamilton jackets, like the old leather, real thick leather
Yeah.
jackets. Do you have any of those?
No, you got one, and you're.
I've got some.
I'm
mean,
sure Kevin's got some. He's got all kinds of things.
He's a
Yes.
lot of
We have
things.
all
Maybe one
kinds
of
of
those
things.
championship.
All
ones
those
we can get rid of.
Maybe.
championship.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They
Yeah,
all used to be leather, and every once in a while you'd get like just different sponsors that would, whenever it was cool to have those jackets.
Mhm.
There's definitely some sponsor jackets that are leather too. So
May make an
next week.
appearance.
Yeah.
we'll have to go look in the
Harvick
storage
Happy
room.
Pod.
Yeah.
We're happy that you are all here with us for the second episode. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Harvick Happy Pod, so you can keep track of all the happenings on our show, of course.
Yes.
Nailed it.
So we've got, thank you.
Nailed
My work is done. We got a good show on tap, though, because we're going to recap everything that happened in Atlanta. And of course, there was no shortage of things to talk about there. We'll preview Vegas. We'll do your social observations,
We got some
Mamba.
stuff.
So that's what's on tap for the show today. The finish at Atlanta
Yes,
was
let's-
awesome.
let's
It's
just
going to
start
go
there.
down in history, right? Let's
It
just
is.
start there.
And when you go back and you watch this finish and you watch it unfold, it really, on the restart, I know everybody pushed and shoved and positioned themselves, but it really unfolded when Kyle Busch made a pretty gutsy pass to go into the middle, 3 wide going into turn 3. And that just really didn't allow Bubba Wallace to even play a factor in what was going to happen, because those cars 3 wide like that made him get tight behind him, which, the front end wouldn't turn. He went up the racetrack, slowed Austin Cindric's momentum down.
Yep.
And from that point on, it was a good old fashioned drag race
Yes, it was.
all the way to the start finish line. And Clint and myself were in the booth. I was just standing there. Clint and Mike are going. And I turned into a race fan, speechless, not wanting to walk over the top of them. But man, what a finish! That was unbelievable.
That didn't work is what got Kyle Busch the win, right? Shooting that gap through the middle.
Mhm.
And then there were 3 wide, not just the first 3, but there were 3 wide like 2 rows back. I thought that was the coolest thing about it.
It was one of those races, and I told everybody in our production meeting before we even got to Atlanta, I said, this is the most intense race that the drivers will have.
Mhm.
It's the most uncomfortable you'll be in the car. The back of the car never wants to be in the racetrack. The cars get crazy runs. The stack-ups are twice as bad as they are at Daytona, because you have to lift getting into corners because of the bumps, because of somebody being in front of you, because your car gets tight and the front end won't turn, or it's loose in the middle of the corner. But think about how many races, I mean, and we have seen this a little bit more, but how many races lately we've seen cars just spin out on their own.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher,
Sure. Yep.
there
was a bunch of them.
Josh Berry,
Denny Hamlin.
and just positioning that car was so strategic and so unique, because of the fact you saw some of these guys, they'd get the right front fender out and it kind of, the cars are already edgy and it would plant that right front fender and they would just spin out. We saw a wreck on lap. We took one. We finished lap one.
That was
we
it.
didn't make it far
We
into
didn't
lap
make it very
2.
far.
So
Yeah.
that was pretty wild to see the cars all stack up there, and I think we got 16 of them.
Yes,
Yeah, in that first
16
wreck.
in that first wreck.
It was
yeah.
wild. We were having a NASCAR Sundays out in Charlotte while you guys were in Atlanta, and everyone was like, "Is this normal?" I'm like,
No,
not usually.
not really.
Usually we make it a couple of laps in,
Not-
but I mean they were racing so hard. And let me ask you, Kevin, like I feel like the way that this track is now, it's gonna make you a better driver because it's a mix of mile-and-a-half racing and speedway racing, and you're super edgy. So like your car control, everyone's car control is really at a max now at Atlanta.
Well, I think the thing that stuck out, one of the things that stuck out to me after the race, or even after we go to the care center and listen to some of those interviews, when we went to Martin Truex's in-car, he talked about how much fun he was having. Kyle Larson had just wrecked, and he talked about how much fun it was because it's such a challenge. It's not like you don't have anywhere to go. You have options, and you have things that happen. And I think Martin had what was his quote, Kaitlyn?
His quote was, "It's been a surprise party around every corner."
Yeah.
Which I think is funny.
When you hear
probably
Martin
accurate.
Truex talking about things like that, you understand that it's created this very unique style of race that puts the drivers doing things that they typically haven't done in that style of racing. And you know, you saw slide jobs, you saw huge just dive bombs from the slingshot, and when those cars would check up getting in the corner, sometimes they'd pass 3 or 4 cars. But if there's no way to get up into the middle lane, then you'd get shuffled back. So the comers and goers, and really before the race started, we didn't really know, would Michael McDowell stay up in the front? Did his car have too much drag taken out of it? But he raced up in the front for the most part of the day. And you know, I think a lot of those guys that had the strategy at the beginning of the race to have more handling built into their car, most of them got wiped out in the beginning or had damage at some point in the beginning because they started in the back of the pack. And, you know, Austin Dillon and those guys all stacked up and wrecked at the front of the pack. So, I mean, that wreck really started. I would say it started with Todd Gilliland when he was trying to hold that space for Michael McDowell to get up into that middle lane, because that's really the preferred lane at that time. I mean, it was going to have the most cars in that particular lane. So it was just an endless amount of stories from the time that they dropped the green flag until the time that the checkered flag dropped. And when you look at how many people watched the race, how many impressions it got on social media, all the people that were watching were wowed. And
Yes, they were.
I was standing in the booth and still sitting here today. I'm in the exact same category. Wowed.
We were laughing too at the video of you and Clint in the booth with your arm around him. Like, you just thought to do that? Like, were you afraid he was going to just jump through the glass, or what was happening?
There was a good possibility he was going to jump through the glass, because, you know, typically you want Mike Joy to call most of the last lap, because nobody really wants to hear us call the last lap. Mike does a much better job at that. And Clint got so excited and so jacked up, and it was just, that was all natural Clint. And he was going crazy. And I put my arm around him because I kind of got up and I'm like, oh, this is pretty exciting. And he's making me excited. And I didn't want to get in the middle of those two talking. So I just kind of let it all play out and watch the end of the race and listen to those two. But I've gone through a lot in the first few weeks in the booth,
have.
To be able to witness one of the greatest finishes in NASCAR history. And we've had rain delays and all kinds of crazy stuff happen, but it was a wild weekend.
It definitely delivered.
That was that moment, you know, when you're watching something really cool happen and you just get sucked into it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Kevin's getting sucked in, he's bouncing with Clint. That was that moment.
So true.
We
Yes.
had no idea they were filming us.
Yeah, obviously.
There's always a
It was
camera everywhere, right? There's
Start
always
locking
a
the
camera.
door.
Yeah.
And people are making comparisons to Lightning McQueen and all the
Everybody.
memes that were coming out.
Yeah, the memes were great. I think NASCAR Chasm made one of Taylor Swift.
Yes, for
But,
the
yeah,
Super Bowl
from
reaction.
the Super Bowl, and it was that finish, and I was like, she would probably be that excited.
Yeah.
She knows nothing about it. So
You never know. Tay-Tay might show up.
she's been,
Tay-Tay.
That's what Piper calls her.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Tay-Tay.
That's
See,
cute.
he's up on
It's
it.
cute when you
He's on the
say it.
Tay-Tay.
Well, look, I'm a girl dad.
How do
so.
how do you spell that?
I mean, really, however you want. I
Okay.
mean, her
Right.
name is TA, so I would just assume TA.
TATA.
TATA.
Okay. I was just checking.
Yeah, just don't use any big words. Okay.
That's right.
you use any big
No
words,
big words
I
today.
can't spell them.
All right. I'm going
So,
to try and keep my words real simplified for you.
Thank you.
Today.
Simpler the better.
Hey,
So,
Suarez won,
Yeah.
by the way. We didn't even mention that yet. Daniel Suarez got the big win, 7th win for Trackhouse. This is such a cool race organization when you look at what Justin Marks has been able to do with this team. And it's still young and it's, infancy kind of coming along in the sport. But this is a huge shot in the arm for them because Daniel obviously didn't have a win last year. Now he's already.
And when you look at Trackhouse, it seems like they've been here for 20 years, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They've won 7 races.
Yeah.
And it seems like half of those races have been spectacular. Hell, even the ones they don't win are spectacular. Ross at Martinsville was spectacular.
That was
Darlington was
last week at Daytona.
Yeah.
He was right in the mix to win the race, but they're just exciting. And when you look at their team and the way that they approach things, everything they do is just exciting and fresh,
different and fun.
Ross smashes watermelons when he gets out. Daniel
Piñata
taco pinata with candy all over the front stretch. So, but I think this was aside from all that well timed for Suarez because of the fact that he didn't win last year. Everybody knows that it's been made well aware that this is the last year of his contract, and I think the timing of that has to be great, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, for a guy like that to want to solidify your spot on your team, and he was the guy that the team started with, and it kind of felt like maybe Ross was, Ross had kind of stepped up to be the guy you count on to win your races, and now Daniel's like, whoa. I was here first. I'm here too. And like Daniel's one of those guys, like if he's like a bulldog, man, like if he has a shot to win, like you're gonna have a hard time ripping that out of him. And he just gangstered it around the top. I mean, big huevos. Yeah. Big huevos to get around the top and make that move finish off and work.
Here's the thing I want to see now though. I want to see that momentum continue for multiple weeks, right?
Yeah.
I want to see if they can take what they did this weekend and turn that into momentum that will be a multi-win season.
Right.
Because that's really the next step that those guys need is to be able to, we're talking the 99 car, to be able to win multiple races in the season because that's when it becomes hard.
Right.
When you get into these situations where it's like, all right, I won the race. It's when you figure out, just as William Byron has done, when you figure out how you can win 4, 5, 6 races in a year by taking that momentum and continuing that progression and work and everything that you did to get back into victory lane, how do I carry that enthusiasm and momentum week after week after week? And for me, back in 2015, that was the first conversation that we had after we won the championship. Okay, Jimmy Johnson has won 6 championships, and at that time it was 6. What do they do to win so much during the year and keep that same momentum? Well, it's an approach, right? It's that sacrifice week after week after week. No holds barred. Don't hold anything back on your preparation. It has to be the same week after week after week. Well, not only is that for the driver, that's also for the team. That's also for the pit crew to do that. But to do that 38 weeks a year with 36 points races, 2 non-points races, to do that for 38 weeks of the year, it's hard. And that's what I want to see out of the 99 team next. But they've got the hard part done.
Yeah.
Right? They're in the playoffs. But now they can make it a spectacular year if they're able to figure out how to do what they just did multiple times during this season.
I think for the field, one of the most dangerous things is Trackhouse being aggressive. And now they get to be. Because the drivers want to be. That's how they want to race. And I mean, you look at Phoenix for the championship, how Ross raced Blaney. Like, they've won 2 of the last 3 races, no matter how you shake it, whether it was from last year or not. Like,
that's right.
It looks like them dogs are ready to go running for the whole season. So that's a dangerous thing for the rest of the field.
Yeah.
It definitely is. So we're, of course, talking about Atlanta, Suarez being the big winner. I want to talk to you guys, though, about the fact that this race was moved and what you think about having it in this placement. I know you spoke with Ben Kennedy from NASCAR, just kind of getting his thoughts on, in general, the whole weekend and the way it played out. What all did he have to say?
Yeah, we just chatted a little bit. I mean, me and Ben, we talk a lot about a lot of different things, but I was just like, man, I really feel like everyone is appreciative of the move. I was at William Byron's Daytona 500 party before the week, which was a
How
great
was
time.
that?
It was a great time. We
From what
had
he
fun.
recalls.
Yeah, it was a late night, and I was talking to Rudy. I'm like, Rudy, how do you feel about going back-to-back super speedways? He's like, well, the car setup isn't even that close. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was one thing I thought was, well, the setups are closer, so it shouldn't be as hard. So that's not it. He's like, but not having to turn around and go out west is really nice. And like now we go Vegas, Phoenix, right? Instead of LA, Daytona, and it was Fontana.
Coast.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like we don't have as many. So that
Right.
for everybody, I think able to get their bearings to start of the year is really good. So I think that was a good move.
I think having that speedway race back to back, and we heard Martin Truex talk about this before the race, it allowed them to kind of build off of Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing you have to remember too, this is the first race of the playoffs at the end of the year. So this Atlanta race was a big moment for the notebook to be able to say, okay, I need to come back here and run well, because the next time they go back there will be their first race of the playoffs. So I think that's a pretty big deal. Now the flip side of this are the guys that didn't have a couple of good speedway races. And when you look at well, first off, we had 5 cars this weekend that didn't have damage. The 2, the 8, the 12, the
small
38, and the 47.
Not bad.
Are the only ones who didn't wreck. So that seemed to be pretty much the key to the puzzle to just finish the race. But when you look at Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, you think, well, they ran at the front. Well, those guys haven't scored many points, and now they're 33rd and 36th in the 33rd and 36th in the points. So Brad Keselowski is 33 points out of 16th. So that's the flip side to this whole thing, is getting behind in the points and being buried in the points and putting yourself in a position to where you have to play catch up. Because when we raced, it was, hey, our main goal at the beginning of the year is let's have solid finishes. If we can win, we can win, but let's not bury ourselves.
Right.
Because if you get home from the West Coast and you're 50, 60 points behind, it's a long way back to the top, and to get yourself in position to be in contention for the playoffs and just get to 16th, because of the fact that everybody's not going to be able to win. Brad Keselowski hasn't won in 100 races.
That's hard to believe.
Joey Logano hasn't won since Atlanta of last year. Austin Dillon, same hole. He hasn't won in a while.
I wrote him down because he was
Texas.
37th at the 500, 22nd at Atlanta. Only 5 laps he's completed
Yeah,
this year.
and these guys will tell you that it's only 2 races, but that's just not how it works anymore. And if you don't win, you have to protect yourself with points. And if you don't protect yourself with points and you don't have those points, it's not going to be long before you have to start switching that strategy to saying, all right, we're 8 weeks in, 10 weeks in, and we're still X amount behind. We need to start throwing a few more Hail Marys at Daytona, at Talladega, at some of these. You know, if you're a good road course racer, let's switch the game to being a good road course racer. Is our short track stuff good? Like, you got to start playing to your strengths to say, okay, I need to score stage points and have a chance to win to make up those big gaps. So as good as it is, I think it's the right thing to do to stay on the East Coast for the teams after Daytona, because you spend so much time preparing for Daytona. It gives everybody a chance to take a breath. But you still got to go out west twice, and so my thing is we got to get through the West Coast swing and not be buried, because right now you don't have any way to make your cars better. They're going back and forth across the country, and you can tune on a few things, but you're not fine tuning much because of the fact you just don't have time.
And I think that we saw that last year, right? Because Kyle Busch won 2 races out west last year, if that's correct. So I mean, they were already running well, so it's easier to stay that way.
Those guys fall right into the conversation that I had about Daniel Suárez and the 99 car. You know, they went half a year last year, dominated,
they're fast,
running up front, winning races, and just fell off. We heard Kyle Busch talk about that. They fell off, and I think Vegas is going to tell us a lot as we go out there. But I think that they got to get through they got to get to the second half of the year. And that's not just start strong. You got to be able to make it through the whole year in order to contend in the end.
Yep.
So you mentioned Joey Logano, which I am so interested to ask your opinion about the glove, because this was one of the most
Oh, yeah.
unusual
Yeah.
stories
Yeah, I love
that
this.
came out of the weekend. And if you missed it, it was pretty strange. A webbed glove, obviously for type of aero advantage,
Yeah.
holding the hand up in the car
Yeah.
for qualifying. Very creative. A+ for creativity.
Gotta
I
give
must
it
say
to
for- yeah. What did you make of this? And like, have you seen something like this before?
I love it.
I didn't- yeah.
Look, I know of a lot of stories. I mean, there used to be guys that would have like a huge piece of plexiglass that would pull that baby up from behind the door pad, pull that thing up to the top of the window net. Dale Jr., if you might be able to elaborate on this story. And not to say that we didn't have one, but I love the innovation part of our sport. I love the creativity. It sucks when you get busted. But when you think of things that other people aren't doing, to me, that's a feather in the cap. And I think that's a feather in those guys' cap, because I heard that it was used for multiple years. And if that's the case,
They
kudos
got
to
away
them.
with that
And
for a long time then.
But they only got caught because, like, imagine if they would have just got it certified, or just like talk to somebody and no one else knew about it, but it was a certified piece.
Yeah.
Because it would take a while for anyone else to know, obviously, for anyone else to notice that was different.
How would you submit that, you think?
Hey, can you not tell anybody else about this?
Yeah, but
it's our deal, but
submitting
like,
is our deal. Don't repeat.
but it was obviously the other Penske cars didn't use it, or they just didn't get caught.
So would you be mad? Like,
If
if you were on the Penske team, would you be like, hey, what? Where's that web glove been for me for the last 4 years?
Well, see, this is where
100%.
it's a team, but not really. It's an individual, right? I mean, because there's only so much that you
true.
can share. So
Yeah, I
only one can win.
It might just be Joey's deal.
Yeah.
Joey might have figured it out himself, and like no one really.
Maybe
knew.
you can find out next week.
Yeah.
or this
Yeah,
week.
just
Talk to Sliced Bread. See
Yeah,
what's up.
see if everybody had it or if it was just him. Because if it's just him, even more kudos to him. Because I mean, we've been thrown out. We were thrown out for things all
kinds
through
of
the
things.
year. But
yeah.
I'm all for the innovation and creativity.
Are the drivers always aware of all the things that the team is doing?
No.
No, not all the times.
The problem with the drivers is that most of them have a big mouth. And so they get into the motorhome lot and it'd be like, hey,
By the way,
did you think you got that same spoiler I got on my car? Well, I don't know. You got a spoiler on your car? Maybe. Yeah. You got that
That's
thing going on with your
surprising.
intake manifold? Yeah, probably. I don't know. You can't tell the drivers because they got a big mouth.
That's how it works.
well,
Yeah.
it seems like the secrecy would be premium if
Listen,
you're
the
trying to
interior
win. and not
guys
have
start
other
coming in
people.
their car.
Yeah, absolutely. The less people that know in our sport, you got to remember the cars they're 3 feet apart in the garage.
Yeah.
And it's less now than it used to be, but everybody has a photographer that takes pictures of everybody else's cars. Everybody's videoing
true.
everybody else's cars. They go back and the engineers do nothing but dissect these cars through photography, through videography, through all the telemetry and things that they have. They spend more time working on
Watching other
watching
people.
everybody else's cars than they do their own cars. You have your own department that worries about everybody else, and I think it's just a fine line between what you tell the driver and what you don't.
It's very fascinating. One of the most fascinating parts of the sport. I think, for
RC once
sure.
told me, he said, Mamba, we can't unlearn what we learned.
That's right.
And that's the
There you go.
problem.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
Just keeps
Just
going.
keeps going.
Speaking of keeping going, we're going to Las Vegas this weekend. Old Sin City on deck for NASCAR. First mile and a half, like you said, you
Yeah.
feel like this will be kind of a good barometer, like to get a read on people's program now that the super speedways will be done for now, and the mile and a half.
I
Is up.
do. I think that the mile and a half programs are obviously very important. They've been great races for us through the last several years. I mean, Charlotte, the 600 has probably been the best race. Vegas has had some wild finishes as we've gone through the last couple of years with this particular car. I think I really think this weekend will tell us a lot. There's a lot of unknowns. We got the new diffuser in the back that everybody hasn't run, especially on the mile and a half racetracks, and I think the Toyotas and the Fords were designed around the old diffuser. So the rules have been changed to this new diffuser and the things that are happening with it. So it'll be interesting to see how those cars react, because this is very much a racetrack that you have to have maximum downforce and good balance on your race car to make it go from the beginning of the run to the end of the run, bottom of the racetrack, top of the racetrack, behind cars. There are a lot of bumps and things that go into this particular racetrack. So I really think this is going to give us a good idea of who is going to be rising to the top on the mile-and-a-half racetracks. In the past, it's been Joe Gibbs Racing, Penske Racing, and Hendrick. Those have been the three dominant teams. And I think if one of those teams goes out there, I don't think it'll be the Chevrolets, but we do have a new diffuser, so it could change the balance of their race car and the things that they're doing. But I think it'll be a good sign to see where those guys all are with how they perform this weekend.
Did you like racing out there in Vegas?
Did. Yeah, I always enjoy it. I mean, I'm from the West Coast, so going out to Vegas and racing out there, we always had a lot of fans and a lot of people. But Vegas is just it's a fun place to go.
Yes, it is.
How many times you went out there?
I have no idea.
I just know the one we didn't. I know the one we didn't win.
Once or twice.
The hub caught on fire.
Yeah.
That was the championship. Listen,
fond memory.
In 2014, like the amount of races we didn't win but finished second, and mind you, my bonuses only came if we won races. So it was cool that we were in the playoffs, but my pocket wasn't getting any bigger. So we lost a lot. But Vegas is gonna be cool. I think to that point, like we're gonna see what the rest of the year is kind of gonna look like. At least the beginning of it. It's a more of a standard racing track that we go to. I think it's going to set up for a lot of things. People are going to have to go to work.
Yeah.
And they don't know. Like, I think it's interesting that the Fords, the dark horses, have been so fast in the first two races, but on a more super speedway, deal. Are they going to be able to manufacture a win out of that? Because they haven't, even though they've dominated the speed charts, they haven't finished it off with a win. Both races have been won by Chevys. So, and now the Chevys are going to a place where I hear that they're like a little unsure about where they might be with the new bodies of Ford and Toyota. So it's really going to be interesting. And I think no one knows. And that's the fun part for us, right?
Yeah. For the people at home, I think that the difference is NASCAR has changed the rules with the rear diffuser, which is under the rear of the car. And a lot of the new cars with Toyota and Ford were redesigned with the old style diffuser from last year. And now they're having to go out there with a new right side tire. They changed the right side tire. They've changed the diffuser. Chevrolet still has the same car, but really none of these teams actually can say, hey, we're pretty confident in what's going to happen. And when we went out there the first year with this new car, we had some tire trouble because it was so hard on the right rear tire. Goodyear has tried to alleviate some of that stress on the right rear tire, but we've seen blown tires in practice. We've seen things happen on the racetrack because this is a very coarse racetrack from an asphalt standpoint and likes to chew up the tires. So until the racetrack gets rubbered up to a certain point, the tire wear is going to be high, and there is a lot of throttle. There's a lot of throttle. I think it's going to be 55 degrees on Sunday, and you are going to have to be
cooler. It looks like
you're going to have to be hammer down.
You going out there this weekend?
No, I'll be having NASCAR Sundays here in Charlotte. So.
I'm sure you've got places you like going to Vegas, though, right?
You know what? I stay away from Vegas. It's not really my jam. It's too dry.
Too dry?
Yeah, my people are tropical people. We like Miami and moisture.
But it's just a great venue, like you were saying, across the board. Like it seems like the fans and the community really gets into it when we roll into Vegas.
Well, it's a destination.
Yeah. Exactly.
And people want to go places where they can do something besides go to the racetrack. The race is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of people that do camp there. And I have a lot of friends that come from Bakersfield or the West Coast that'll just go camp out over there. But I have a lot of friends that will just go over there and stay in a hotel and not go to the race until Sunday morning.
Right.
So
if they make it, if they make
it. So I'm looking forward to standing up in the booth and calling the race because it's a very intriguing time of year, and coming off of all the momentum, I think there's a lot of false hope.
Yeah.
A lot of false hope.
Yeah.
False hope.
Like that quote.
And I think when you look at the way that some of the things have shaken out over the first 2 weeks, there's a lot of false hope that sits atop of the points chart. And, I think this could be a reality check in for a few people.
It's wild that when we were talking about guys like Austin, even Denny and like that whole leaderboard is going to flip it'll take a few weeks, but if it doesn't, like if they can't get it back going, it's Hail Mary time before we even get halfway through the year. Like you got to just start going for wins or else you won't make it.
And a lot of people, like you said earlier, just don't know what they need to work on.
Yeah, they don't know yet.
They don't know. And they might go out there, and some of the people that we're talking about that we think are going to dominate, they're going to lay an egg. And if they do, there's going to be some panic. And then the next week we're going to go right to a short track and see what you've got from that particular standpoint. So totally different aero package, smaller spoiler on the back, new diffuser, a lot of different things from the two super speedway races we've been to so far.
So who are you watching? Like, do you have an early prediction on a team that's you think going to rise to the occasion, or maybe the opposite? Really going to struggle?
The Penske cars have been good. Las Vegas has been a very good racetrack for them. So if they don't all three go out there and have a good weekend, I think that they're going to have some work to do. I expect Blaney and Joey Logano, Austin Cindric. I think he finished 5th there last year. I expect those guys to go out there and have a good weekend. The Hendrick cars, same thing. Alex Bowman, he needs to win. And it's been 2 years at Las Vegas since he won. And I think that the Hendrick cars are going to be strong. And I think that the complete unknown in this is Toyota laying in the weeds. Is their car, does it make that much downforce and be able to, will it be able to do what we all think it's going to be able to do from a downforce standpoint and, be dominant? Because they have gone out there and been dominant before. It just seems like a Joe Gibbs racetrack. So I look for Christopher Bell.
He's fast there.
I think
He's nice there.
I think if the car balance is where it needs to be, I look for Christopher Bell to be strong, and that would probably be my early pick.
He's getting some extra seat time. He's running the truck race. He's back with us in the trucks, so that'll be cool. Do you have a team you're watching?
Listen, I've figured out that I can't pick. If I pick people, they usually end up wrecking. Yeah. I was really heavy on Harrison Burton in Daytona. My guy didn't make
Corey
it.
LaJoie, or
yeah,
you picked Corey and it worked out for you.
Yeah, one time. But I feel bad because every time I tell them on pit road, I'm like, hey man, I picked you this week, and
like
then usually
that's where you're going wrong.
Oh, is that where it goes wrong?
Don't tell
You're like
him.
a typical driver. You just got to tell somebody. You just got to keep that stuff to yourself. And then afterwards you say, hey, buddy, I picked you.
I just want you to know.
That way, if they wreck, you can kind of guard yourself and they don't give you any grief about picking them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right?
But I want them to know that I support, I'm supporting them. I'm laying my...
tell them afterwards.
Yeah, but then they're like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
now
tough
you
deal.
have proof. So.
Now I got proof.
It's a slippery slope.
Who are you supporting?
I think I'm going with the Trackhouse. I'm going with Team Trackhouse. I think they're going to...
So you're going to pick 2 guys?
No, I'm picking the team.
The whole team?
The whole
Just the
team,
whole
nothing but the
team.
team.
Everybody?
Justin Marks and all.
You're just watching the whole program.
Yeah, the whole
Well,
program.
that's not how this works. You got to pick one. So is it the
I'm picking
99,
Kyle
the
Busch.
1?
You're
71?
You're going Kyle Busch. I'm gonna go. I'll go 1.
1.
Yeah.
It's a good pick.
I just think he's trying to show everyone that he's back.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I'm going with Kyle. He's a Vegas driver. What I do find interesting is he has not won on a 1.5-mile track in the next gen car. Did you know that factoid?
Wait,
I did not know that
guess
one.
California's
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Cal Fontana doesn't count. I mean, I guess it's big. Like,
Is that too big?
is that too big?
This is on Russell's notes, so
Okay.
I'm going to go
Well,
with it.
Well, I mean,
America, does
Russell is
Fontana
known to
count?
make some errors, so that would be my favorite part. If Russell has an error, we need to definitely make sure that we exploit that error.
Oh, no.
He is
I did not mean to
he
do
is
this to you, Russell. Sorry.
cockiest fantasy player I've ever seen in my life. And him and Clint are on the same fantasy team, and it makes me, it's a little frustrating.
On a
Well,
team?
frustrating.
Yeah, they have this DraftKings league.
He can't be in DraftKings.
I'm banned.
He's banned.
I'm banned for a year from DraftKings because apparently I was a professional athlete.
Yeah,
I didn't know
surprise.
I had
Who
an
knew?
athletic bone in my body, but
You wrestled for a little bit. I've seen the
Yeah,
singlet.
Wrestling.
that was
yeah.
all grit.
I was a wrestling
There was no athleticism.
Oh, okay.
manager for our high school team, by the way.
You were
We have
wrestling?
that in manager
For
for
the
our high
team?
school team. If you were a sports med student, you had to work on a team and take care of their injuries and
A
score their
sports
match.
bed student?
Sports med.
Med.
Oh, sports med.
Medicine.
I thought you said bed. I was like, sports bed. I'm like,
Nope, not a
what am I missing here?
That's sports
You to
medicine.
me.
Bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
I
had
gotcha.
wrestling in common. Who knew?
Sports med. What was the most common injury?
You always had to tape the wrists.
Tape the wrist.
The wrestlers always got their
I had my wrist
wrists. Or
taped all the time.
nosebleeds. That
Yeah.
was the
You
simple
guys'
one.
Banging
ears,
heads.
your ears
Banging
look
heads.
gross.
What's that?
Your
Caul-
ears always look gross.
It's the
My ears?
cauliflower ear.
No, not yours are
He
fine
doesn't
now.
have them.
Headgear?
No, yeah, but isn't that what
When you're
makes it
98
gross?
pounds
Yeah.
wrestling, you don't bang heads hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you didn't really
Okay.
have any cauliflower ear.
Thank God.
Yeah.
All right.
Huh.
What do you got on your social segment this week? We're going to take a turn from wrestling to social.
We're into social. Okay, I want to start with the roof flies off Bayley Currey's truck while we're racing in Atlanta. If you guys weren't watching the truck race, you missed a great time. And all of a sudden, something's flying in the air. And normally, if that's like, it's normally like a hood, maybe like a hood pin breaks. And they zoom in, and it's like, oh no, that's the top of his truck. Like it's gone. Like I know that there's no way that's happened to you before.
I've never had my roof blow off. No,
So
I've had my hood blow up over my window and the hood fly off or side window blow out, but I don't know that I've ever seen somebody's roof actually blow off.
did you guys see how perfectly square it was off the car?
I did.
Like I'm like, so to me, I'm like, sounds a little sus.
Yeah.
Sus is suspicious,
I saw
by the way.
pictures of the truck, and
sus.
it looked like the left top corner of the whole windshield caved in.
Yeah.
And then the window blew underneath of it.
Yeah.
And then the whole roof blew off. So I'm not sure on this
You don't
one.
look very convinced on
I'm
that.
not yeah, well, he's not even, you know what sus means, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, we've tried to manipulate everything on a race vehicle. So if the roof blew off, it wouldn't surprise me if it was intentional.
Listen, if he wins in Vegas, you know what you should do? You should pull a Kevin and get on the roof and pat it down. Just
that
like
was
you did.
Phoenix.
I know you did at Phoenix, but that's your move.
that was because the back window caved in it at Vegas. Remember?
Yeah. I remember
Yeah.
because everyone thought we weren't going to make the championship. And
Yeah.
no.
We just followed that up with another one.
Yeah.
That was always the most fun when everybody would say, "Oh yeah, they got caught cheating, they did this or that," and then you'd go the next week and win. That and it just gave you extra motivation
Yeah,
to
I
just
bet.
cram it right where the sun doesn't shine.
Everyone loves that.
Tell everybody all about it.
So my second piece this week, I know most of y'all saw I Am Kevin Harvick on Fox Sports. It was great. I rewatched it. I might have shed a little tear.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it was good. It was great.
Yeah.
But you actually posted about Piper and going racing with her.
I did.
And I want to so like I love it. You know I love Piper, but my question is being when you're teaching Kaitlyn
Mm-hmm.
and now you're the Piper, like I feel like it's different. Do you teach him the same way?
Buddy,
Because Piper listens more than Kaitlyn does.
different is an understatement.
Okay.
So here's how this went. So Friday, I said, "Oh man, I'm so excited! I get to take Piper to the go-kart track. We're gonna spend some time together. It's raining. We're gonna have some fun. She likes driving her go-kart in the rain. She got a new go-kart, so we go up there. And we're driving up there, and she says, "Dad, what are we doing today?" I said, "Well, here's what we're gonna do today." She said, "Dad, I don't need any advice. I don't need you to tell me anything today.
Oh.
I want to have fun. Billy is my crew chief, and I prefer that he tell me everything that I need to do and not you." So we go out there the first practice. In the first practice, she goes out and it's in the rain. She does fine. We come in, we talk about everything, and I'm talking, and she's like mean mugging me. And I'm like, man, she's serious about this, not talking to me. We come in and she just goes out there and lays a complete egg. And with Kaitlyn, I mean, I would just rip him, right?
Right.
He'd come in and I would rip him up one side, down the other, and he'd stand there and he'd go back out and he'd have his best session. I said, well, I'm gonna push the needle here a little bit, just see how she reacts. And well, it didn't go well. She came in and I started telling her that she was doing this wrong and this didn't go right and you need to listen. And by the time we got back to the garage, she was like frustrated and crying. And I'm like,
Oh no.
oh no. So I just sat in the corner the rest of the day and I didn't even really get wound up. Like it would be terrifying if I got wound up like I did at Kaitlyn. And
Girls are sensitive.
yeah,
Kevin.
so I'm learning quickly.
FYI.
We were at the go-kart track that we could get a little more intense, but that was not the case.
Not all.
Oh.
And so Kaitlyn, he was out testing his Legend car, and so he came home and we were in the car and I said, well, did you have fun today, Piper? And she's like, yeah, I had fun. Kaitlyn started saying something. He started interrupting, and she was kind of frustrated because of the fact that, you know, it had been a little more chaotic than it probably needed to be. And she looked over at Kaitlyn and she said, Kaitlyn, shut up. Quit being a butthole. And I'm like, well, this is just not gone how I thought it was going to go today.
Yeah, everything. The wheels are coming off the whole thing.
The wheels had come off bad, but apparentally everybody had fun on Saturday, and she finished third and had a good time.
There we
So
go.
yeah, it all turned around on Saturday. So
That's all that matters.
but it was an intense Friday.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It's sweet they're both into the racing though. That's kind of
It's good for her. She's she's into the go-kart racing and piano.
Oh,
So couldn't really be more opposite.
yeah.
Good mix.
Where'd she
Yeah.
get that sass from? Is that you or?
I
Your
blame
wife?
it all on her mom.
Okay.
Absolutely, 100% Delana.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a couple clips of you in Biffle.
I was gonna
And
say, you don't
Ricky
think you've got
Rudd
a
and-
fiery side in
I
you?
don't know.
Well, she just has this, and I don't even really know how to deal with it. Like I look at her and I'm like, I don't want to yell. I don't want to raise my voice. I don't want to give any intense criticism. So I tried to tell it in a polite way, and that doesn't work either. So
It's
I'm
a fine
learning.
balance.
The daughter son approach is drastically different. So I'm still working on exactly what we need to do. That's right here with Piper. So it's an evolution. As
That's
I tell
right.
parents all the time, it's an evolution of trying to push the buttons of what works and what doesn't work. And
Yes.
and you just don't want them to not like you.
Yeah.
But there are moments where you have to step in and make sure you correct what they do. But she's still probably a little bit too young for any of the intense comments or anything happening yet. So we're just going to go out there and have fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny. She kind of like gives you a little sass. I feel like she's probably the only one that does that, and you don't get
Oh,
really irritated.
Trust me, there are sometimes I stand there and I'll look at Delana and I'll look back at Piper and I'll look at Delana and I'll be like, well, I don't really have anything to say because I'm afraid if I say something right now, I don't know if you're going to jump me or you're going to jump me. So I'm just
Two against one.
I'm just not going to say anything.
Not good. And Kaitlyn doesn't help.
No.
I've been there. I've been there at dinner.
He-
Oh.
He is the biggest antagonizer that there is.
Yeah.
He antagonizes the crap out of her.
Didn't someone antagonize Brad Keselowski once and push him in a
Sometimes
fight?
you just have to shift the message. Sometimes you just got to shift the message, right? You
So I
gotta-
can't imagine where he got that from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, this was a good second episode. It's fun conversations. We're doing our last call now, though. So you, I know, had a really cool interview earlier today. Tell
We
us about
did.
it.
Yes, we had Bill and Tyler Jordan from Realtree on, and I thought it would be great for the fans to be able to hear some of those stories that Bill had, because Bill is very involved with a lot of the drivers throughout the years. We would go on great hunting trips together, and was a longtime sponsor of Richard Childress Racing and Dale Earnhardt. He was on every single race that I ever ran in a
Wow.
cup car. He was my first sponsor at RCR, and the Realtree brand was on every single race. So I think you'll really enjoy some of the stories that he has, whether it's about myself or Dale or Bobby Labonte or some of the stuff that we talked about on the episode. So it was great. It was a great interview.
Nice. Look
Yeah.
forward to hearing that Thursday. It'll be on the show.
Be on Thursday.
So what's your last call? What are you looking forward to this weekend?
My last call. I'm looking forward to just another great day of racing, a weekend of racing.
Mhm.
It's been really good so far. Every year, the last few years, I feel like I've been like, man, this was the best year ever. And then the next one starts, I'm like, man, this might be
been
the
good.
best
I
year ever.
know.
Like it starts getting a little better. I want Kevin. You know what I want you to do for me?
What?
I want you
Oh,
to start
boy.
sliding in a word for me into the broadcast every week.
Oh
Okay.
man.
Yeah,
Is it one that you pick?
yeah.
This so many people play this game in TV. This
I know.
is funny.
I love
Well, you
this.
give me a word. You text me. You text
I'll
me
text
Friday
it to you. Yeah,
because I'm not going to create it. I'll have to
No.
find a dictionary or ask Siri.
yeah. You just
Precipice.
gotta. I'll let you know what it means.
First
I'll
word
let
is precipice.
precipice.
I don't-
That might be the one.
That could be a game that you guys play, and then we'll have to see if I can. Does qualifying broadcast count?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
'cause-
anything.
yeah.
Anything goes.
I have a lot
right?
more leeway on the qualifying broadcast because we have more time.
Yeah, it'll be more fun probably too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
people are like, where'd that come
And
from?
the great part, if it's really confusing, I can't wait to see the confused look on Clint's face.
That's part of it.
Yeah,
and Mike will
just-
probably look over at me like, what? Where did he learn that one? There is no way that the education comes from this booth like that.
Yeah.
Mike is gonna start. He's gonna start getting educated too by adjacent.
There you go.
Yeah.
So stay tuned on
Yeah,
the
stay
word
tuned
update.
on the word
We'll
of
have
the
to
word of the
see.
week.
All right, it's a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
a
I'll-
Whatever it
surprise.
is on Friday, we're going to incorporate that into the broadcast on Saturday.
Love it.
Incorporate.
All right.
All right. This has been fun, guys. Another episode in the books. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow along on social media as well on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Harvick Happy Pod. We'll see you next time.